Hey everybody, welcome to AEW's, not AEW's, LOP Radio's Dynamite After Dark, your live reaction show for AEW Dynamite. Here is your host, Zanman Shane Sabunia, along with my good buddy, the Honorable Jeff. And, Jeff, I told you I don't know how my internet's doing tonight, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. So, let's start off by talking about, yes! 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 The pretenders to the tag team throne have finally been dethroned.
Are you happy?
I am. My boy Hangman Page, my boy Kenny Omega have the World Tag Team Championships.
Well, before we get too far into this is going out live over YouTube. If you are listening, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you can get us every time we go live. We go live at least twice a week, and we'll be doing one live YouTube exclusive a month. So hit that subscribe and notification button so that you can hear us every time we are live. And yes, I kind of figured you'd be happy. In fact, I was surprised I didn't hear from you until now.
Well, because my internet has been so crappy, I was watching AEW on my phone, so it's kind of hard to text you during it. So I can only text you like you or my wife during commercials.
Okay, that makes sense.
I figured. Like I said on previous time when that happened, the mobile app, the commercials, there's no split screen; it just goes right to the commercial.
Yeah, they didn't do so well with the split screen, and JR's got to stop with his throwing to the split screen. Just let it go. Just let the commercial break come in. He's not very good at it. How does he? Pretty much every time he goes, and folks, we're going to stay right here.
Yep.
It's like, okay, just say we're going to commercial and let it go to split screen, or just leave it alone, one or the other. Sorry, JR, I actually do enjoy you at times. It's few and far between, but he's got to pull it together. Either that or just give the reins to Taz and Tony Schiavone, or Taz and Excalibur, and have these guys be the B squad on the new show that's coming later this year.
Oh, is there a new show coming this year?
Yeah, they signed a extension of their contract to 2023 with TNT, and they're adding a second show.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's too bad.
Sometimes I have to keep you up on. I've just got to plug you into some news stream somewhere so you get caught up on this stuff.
No, because then I see spoilers, and I want to see spoilers.
Fair enough.
But that is really sad that they're adding a second show. I don't understand the need for an expansion show. Unless they're just bringing Dark onto network TV rather than having it on YouTube. I mean, if they're gonna do that, that's fine. But I don't think they need a second flagship type show.
Yeah, I guess I don't get it either. There's really no point to it, but for some reason they feel like they need one. So let them have it, I guess.
Well, we're not gonna have a choice but to let them have it. But I mean, we don't get a say in that. But I just think it's too much. You don't spread your roster that thin.
Yeah, that is a possibility. It's not going to be like a WWE thing where they're splitting the roster. I mean, they're just bringing on a second show. It'll probably be more like SmackDown and Raw was, or Nitro and Thunder was when they had their when they had two shows.
Doesn't matter. It's still too much wrestling to try to follow every week from one promotion. You know, that's been our complaint about WWE is you have to watch, 5 hours of Raw and SmackDown to follow the mainstream stuff, and now they're going to do the same thing with AEW. I don't like the idea.
Well, yeah, it's too much wrestling for me, and I know I won't be. I can't even watch Dynamite After Dark, so I can see that point.
I hope not. You can listen to it though every week right here on LOP Radio.
Or what's the one they do on YouTube?
It's just called Dark.
Is it AEW Dark? I don't know. It's something. Yeah. It's called something. That's all I know.
Well, one would hope so, right?
Right.
So, how about those new tag team champions, Jeff?
I don't get the whole heel turn or whatever they're doing, because it seems like it's I don't even want to say it's a slow burn at this point. It just seems like he hates the Bucks, but he still loves Kenny.
I just think he's frustrated with everybody, but I think he gets more frustrated when he drinks, and I think that's kind of what they're showing is, he's still, the cowboy guy, he's still the guy that fans love, but then when he starts drinking, he becomes a bit obnoxious and shitty. Kind of like you.
Oh, so, well, yeah, exactly like me, which is why I try not to do it anymore.
Drink, that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being obnoxious, that just goes with the flow.
Yeah, me too.
I
really enjoyed the match. I really enjoyed the finish to the match. I don't know. I don't know really what else to say. I mean, I've had a problem for the last 3.5 months with SCU being the tag team champions and Scorpio Sky being a world beater and all these great tag teams in the world being subservient to SCU, and so I think it's great that this kind of super team of Hangman Page and Kenny Omega finally put those pretenders in their place.
Pretenders? I didn't have a problem with SCU. I'm thinking the initial champions might have run their course, considering a couple of them. Well, I guess we're running up on 5 months now, 4 or 5 months of them being champions, so they've kind of run their course. Might be time to change hands on all of them, but I didn't have as big a problem with SCU as you did.
No, and you never have. I mean, you've always been an SCU guy. I have not always been an SCU guy because they replaced the addiction. You cannot replace the addiction.
Except for the fact that Christopher Daniels is 405 years old now.
I do not care.
Well, fair enough.
Chris Jericho's also 405 years old, and he's the AEW World Champion.
Well, yeah, and I think he's kind of run his course, too. I didn't think he was going to be champion for as long as he is. He's pushing about 6 months now, and that was something that we talked about in the beginning, that he'll make a great first champion, but he shouldn't hold the belt long.
Yeah, we did say that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, he's held the title now since, September... Was it September 1st or August 30th that Labor Day was on the show? I can't remember. I was at the show, and I still can't remember. But I mean, basically...
Regardless, it's one or 2 day difference, so it's not like it really matters much.
That's true. But, if he drops the title to Jon Moxley at Revolution... That's February 29th, right? So he will have held it for just under 6 months at that point.
Right, and that's just too long. I wanted him to become the first champ, especially when it was against Page, because I didn't think Page was ready yet. I'm still not 100% sold on Page being ready to carry the belt yet, but he is definitely in a better spot than he was 6 months ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and he's developing a better character. He's got the crowd on his side. He's rubbing, he's getting the rub from Kenny Omega, and I guess from this title reign from SCU, who they were calling the hottest tag team in the world, and also from the Bucks. I mean, I think that it's interesting what they're doing right now with Kenny Omega seems to be like kind of torn like 3 ways now. Like he's got the thing going on with Hangman where they're kind of friends and kind of have a little bit of rivalry going. He's got the thing going on with Pac, and now it looks like he'll be defending those tag team titles along with Hangman, and so I just don't know where this whole thing with Pac fits into everything.
Yeah, it's hard to.
I mean, I can't see that he's going to be pulling double duty at the pay-per-view.
No, I can't either, but what are they going to be doing with Pac at this point? I could see by that time we have a split with Kenny and Page, and it'd be a triple threat.
Yeah, but are they going to have the tag title switch twice that quickly?
It doesn't necessarily need to switch. It doesn't necessarily.
Go ahead.
it could be a winner-take-all type situation where the winner becomes tag team champions out of the triple threat.
That's true.
Or something along those lines. And it's not the first time a heel and face have been, and bitter enemies have been tag champs together.
Right.
I mean, they are moving towards an eventual Hangman turn, even though it's kind of a weird slow burn, but it is the direction that they're going.
I was kind of hoping, I think I mentioned this last night, but I was really hoping that Pac would win the match against Moxley tonight. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to, but it also came pretty close to hitting the time limit, which is what happened the only other time these guys faced each other. They went to a time limit draw and the main event of Dynamite. So, it could have easily got to do it where it's going to be a triple threat situation at Revolution.
Yeah, and that I wouldn't have been mad at that either. Although, like we said last night, they've been building towards this Moxley Jericho thing for so long that's got to be the payoff. Right. But so much stuff can happen now between then and now too. That's over a month away. We've got six more episodes before that pay-per-view. So a lot of things can change between now and then.
All right, so I was just looking up what you had mentioned about a second show, and what I suggested actually is what's going to be happening. Is that Dark is going to be moving to TNT? Oh,
okay. All right. Well, that actually makes more sense.
And they're going to. Something they're going to make it like a Sports Center type show that says we're going to embellish and put in some additional material, kind of behind the scenes, kind of docu-follow stuff, if you will, with the athletes and the stories. That'd actually be pretty cool.
Yeah, I still won't have time to watch it, but it'll be really cool.
You will have to make time to watch it.
Dear God, please don't suggest another show.
No, not another show for us to do, but I mean, following the backstage stuff going on and maybe like an expansion into the stories that they're telling wouldn't be a bad thing.
No, actually that wouldn't be bad. And that would be along the same lines of pretty much what we're doing now. At least it's not a new company being suggested. And if I cut out Impact after the discussion everybody had today, I could find time for it.
The discussion about how you can't get into intergender wrestling as much as some people, so you might cut it out for that reason?
No, that's not what I said. What I said is that I think that they're focusing too much on it. I think it's become a focal point of the show, and I don't mind Tessa fighting with the big wigs or fighting with the men and taking on that China role from 20 years ago. But at some point, it's not only hurting the women's division, even though they do have a fairly decent women's division. It's just not. They're playing it. At some point, they need to do what they did with China, and they just need to make it okay. She's just one of the guys now. And stop making it the intergender boy versus girl, she's a woman stuff all the time. And I've been saying that now for over a year. So, and when they first,
I think if you establish her as the champion, so like it says that Sammy lost the title in his first defense, his first pay-per-view defense, I should say. He did defend the title against Brian Cage won. So but Brian Cage basically lost the title in his second pay-per-view defense. But say that Tessa holds it for 6 months. I think by that time everything will have kind of smoothed over, and it won't no longer be like a man versus woman situation. I wouldn't say they're pushing on everybody, considering the fact that it's the only talent that it's happening with. It's not like Jordynne Grace or Kiera Hogan or Madison Rayne or Taya Valkyrie are facing men on a weekly basis.
Not on a weekly basis, but they have gotten into their weren't they involved in that Call Your Shot Battle Royal / Gauntlet thing?
I don't. Were they?
I know there were. I know Jordynne Grace was.
I suppose.
And I could have swore somebody else was. But moving away from Impact, since this is AEW, not much else on this show really stuck with me. I really like seeing Darby Allin's wife make her appearance and break away from MLW, because I think she's a really intriguing character. My only concern is, when is somebody making their debut actually going to win a match?
Why is that important?
It'd be nice to not have them all start off at the bottom. You bring in decent players, let them win a match every now and then.
I think Shida won her first match coming in, didn't she? Oh, no, she didn't. Never mind.
No,
she didn't.
No, and that didn't really count because they were all. That was everybody's first match. That was pretty much everybody's first match in the company. But I'm talking about now. It's everybody new that comes in. Every time they debut a new wrestler, they end up losing that very first match, and it's every single time.
Well, I think at some point, they'll start doing vignettes and stuff like that, and then they'll start bringing somebody with a lot of fanfare, and then they'll come in and get a victory. But I mean, they're really just kind of bringing people in, almost like in a tryout type situation. You know who won almost every one of her matches so far is Chris Statlander.
Except for the fact that she hasn't won anything clean. I don't think she won her very first match, did she?
She did. She only has one loss, and that was the one to Riho.
Wasn't the Did she win? She won it by disqualification, because didn't the Nightmare Family come out, or whatever they're called? Nightmare. Wait, no. No, in Statlander's first match.
She won by pinfall, I think.
What was the one where they came out to try and recruit her? Wasn't that her very first match?
But she had already won the match at that point. That was after the match, and that's when Mel came out of the crowd too.
Okay. All right. So as usual, I'm wrong.
Well, no, you're not wrong. It's just that Chris Statlander. I'm just saying that she I think is the one I can think of that won her debut match.
It just seems like everybody else that when it's their first match, they end up losing. I mean, even CT lost his first match because of that's the match, or that's the one that Cody and him teamed up again with. CT Marshall or CT Anderson. QT Marshall, that's what it is.
Oh, speaking of which, the upside down apple on his tights is a nice touch.
Right. It's yeah.
I really enjoyed last week's Cody promo. I think that Cody is, if not the number one mic guy in the business right now, he's definitely right up there. And then tonight, MJF didn't have a lot of time on the mic, but he did play his usual dickish self and saying, Cody, you're right. I will be a chapter in your book. I will be the last damn one, was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I have to give a shout out to AEW. Not like they probably got the idea from us, because wasn't it 2 weeks ago we were complaining about how it sucks watching him work the crowd and us not being able to hear it.
Yeah.
This time they just let him wander around aimlessly and not talk to anybody, so we actually got to hear his whole promo and crowd work and everything. So I'm going to take credit for that one. Thanks, AEW, for giving us that.
Yeah, I think we should. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, exactly. But and that was a decent match with him and Joey Janela. I just don't understand why can't Joey Janela just have a decent match and just have a match. It's either got to be a hardcore match or somebody's got to interfere. He can never just have a match. And they missed out on a golden opportunity, because MJF and Joey Janela have had feuds in the indies. They could have talked about the history of those two, but they just kind of let it slide.
My favorite part about that match was that they had been talking about Joey Janela's problem was Kip Sabian and the gorgeous goddess Penelope Ford, and then towards the end of the match they come out and they distract Janela, and Jim Ross is like, well, who would have anticipated that Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford would come out here? Every single experienced wrestling fan would have predicted that. Every single person.
Everybody that has ever watched a Joey Janela match would have seen that coming. It didn't even have to be a wrestling fan; just anybody that's ever watched Joey Janela.
I mean, I knew they were coming out for sure. It was crazy. So, and of course, then you had mentioned how Jim Ross sometimes does things to entertain you. Well, I'll tell you once again, because I think I mention this every time he does it. He does not need to say Jungle Boy Jack Perry every time Jungle Boy is doing something in the ring.
I wish he would just say Jack Perry. Let's dump the Jungle Boy thing. But that was another fun match. Marco Stunt is
irritating as fuck. Yeah, I agree.
But fitting his role well.
I probably said that word. Sorry about that.
And I'm changing the rating again. Here we go. Click, click. It's funny because I'm normally the potty mouth, but I'm the one that's been refraining the last 2 days.
I'm not the ratings grabber, folks. I am the ratings changer.
Ratings changer. Yes, you are. He's fitting his role well. He's irritating and annoying, but he's playing it off really well. He's not doing what we hated so much in MLW, where he was out there trying to be this guy that was going to end up being the badass that, beat the bigger guy. He's just out there. He knows he's a tiny guy who's just going to get his head kicked in, and he's playing it well.
So what is the actual rule for YouTube? Because I know, like, for a PG-13 movie, you can say the F word one time and it still be a PG-13 film. Can you not do
PG-13...
Can you not do it like
PG-13
one time on YouTube or what?
Well, PG-13 we could show boobs.
I can show my boobs right now. I don't care.
Well, I don't want to see them.
Liar.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the ratings are. I'm not changing anything. I marked that it wasn't for kids before I even pressed start. So.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I was just curious.
And I'm literally just giving you shit. So.
Like the MPAA or whatever.
I was just giving you shit to begin with, so it worked out well.
I did like kind of how that the Michael Stunt flurry of offense just being like nullified by the Judas effect, which should be called the Judas Kiss, by the way. I don't understand why it's called the Judas effect, but why that doesn't how that made that move look so great, because Jericho's getting his butt kicked. He got his butt kicked by Luchasaurus, and then Michael Stunt's all over him, and then just that one back elbow and
ends everything.
That's it.
Yeah, that was a nice touch having everybody sing his entrance theme too.
Yeah, it was.
That one of those little moments that was nice to see.
Speaking of which, what was the crowd doing in the main event that caused them to keep blanking out the sound? Do you have any idea? What were they? I
have no clue.
Okay.
I have no clue. I was kind of half in and half out. I was not listening. I was more trying to focus on the match. So there were a couple times where I got so annoyed by JR that I literally muted my TV. So I actually missed that. I didn't hear that happening.
That's understandable. What else was I going to say? Oh, Jake Hager. Kind of getting irritated with that guy. I really enjoy him. I like his presence. I enjoy him as a pro wrestler. But I'm getting kind of tired of him just being the enforcer. And if he's not going to wrestle, I guess I kind of want him to come out and say, he's not going to wrestle. He's just going to be the big hurt, and he's just going to be the enforcer. The more he doesn't wrestle, the more I really want to see him get back in the ring. Especially when you're talking about him having, being one of the bigger guys in promotion. They kind of set up him against Dustin Rhodes, and now they set up him against Luchasaurus. I really want to kind of see him mixing it up in those situations.
Yeah, he's really kind of losing it for me too, because literally all he does is come out there, throw his hands up, and then gets involved towards the end of the match.
Right.
It's kind of like a Wardlow. At some point, get in the ring or terminate the contract, let them go somewhere else.
Well, it's even worse than Wardlow, because Wardlow has only been around for 6 weeks or something.
Yeah, and Hager's been around for 4 months.
Right,
he debuted on the.
Yeah, he big debut at the end of the first episode of Dynamite.
And then he's done nothing except for beat down Dustin in the back row out in the parking lot, and then throw a few punches here and there to end matches.
Right.
Right, he's not even a very good enforcer or bodyguard enforcer, whatever if you think about it, because he let Moxley punch his boss in the face with a bottle.
That is very true. I will say, I really liked last week's Dynamite, and I really liked tonight's Dynamite, but I think that this week's Dynamite is better than the last 2 weeks just for the fact that we didn't have Diamond Dallas Page on this episode tonight.
And we didn't have any mini tournaments or four-way battles.
We did not.
We had the number one, and that's the first time in what, 3 weeks we haven't had anything like that.
Right.
And this is nice. We had a tournament. We had a number one contender match. We had a tag team title match, and then we just had some matches. But there were a lot of glowing absences again. Darby Allin, again, nowhere near. And I understand, okay, Guevara got the night off. Great. He's been the focal point of the last 3 episodes. So for him to get a night off is fine. But Darby Allin is back to his making one appearance every 2-3 weeks, and it's for usually for something that has to do with the title. There's just so many people that we don't see. We don't see it, and when you're an upstart company and you have all this young talent, you can't let them just go away for a couple of weeks and think that people are still going to love them when they only show up once a month.
Well, I think it depends on what you're focusing on, and I think Darby Allin will get his time to shine, but I'm sure that he's also featured on Dark, which you and I just don't happen to watch. I don't know what the crossover is between people who watch Dynamite and people who watch Dark, but I think a lot of these guys that we don't see on a weekly basis on Dynamite are going to be on Dark. Like probably the Lucha Brothers are probably on Dark this coming Tuesday or something, along with Darby Allin, and probably the Young Bucks will have a match on there since they didn't have a match on this show, and so on and so forth.
But even still, the Young Bucks were a presence. It's like they could have better use of, I don't want to say backstage segments, but maybe a into and out of commercial vignette. I don't mind the fact that they're bridging matches by having the cutaway screen, but that's also something that doesn't need to be done. They don't need to go to a commercial break during every single match. I mean, there's such a thing as timing, and eventually they've got to get their timing down where you have a complete match between commercials. You can have an 8-minute match. You don't have to have 25-minute matches every. And that first match was almost 30 minutes long.
What they could do, is have like kind of a picture-in-picture type thing. What they used to have like Wrestling Challenge or Superstars back in the day, where you would have a guy come out and cut a promo on somebody else while the match was going on. So they could be cutting a promo for the next episode of Dark or something,
Or they could just cut a promo on whoever's that was one nice thing that WWF used to do in the 80s that was really well done on Superstars and things like that, is you didn't have to have the same matches every single week. You didn't have to have the same guys just in a different formation, tag match or a one-on-one, or, you could have Randy Savage against some jobber and have the Honky Tonk Man, like you said, that picture-in-picture, cut a promo on him on the way to the ring. You get 2 guys on the same segment that are moving forward, and you get to show off someone that might someday become something.
Well, yeah, you and I have talked about that before on our other shows too. That that we would prefer that shows like Raw and Dynamite and SmackDown and Impact, feature more times where you're facing a jobber, kind of building up that superstar, so that you're not getting these matches over and over and over again.
Right.
Down the road when you see 2 stars facing each other, or like maybe just the main event would be 2 stars facing each other, and it means a lot more than when you're seeing 2 name wrestlers or stars facing each other every single match.
We've talked about.
But my point was more that, if they did it the way is that they could do like promos during these matches, like in a picture-in-picture type situation, where they're promoting the matches that are coming out on Dark, and you have these two opponents that are like kind of that alternating time, talking about what they're going to do to each other, and kind of promoting the fact the matches they're going to have on Dark on Dynamite.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things I could do. I think at this point, the wrestling is good. It's really good. They go out there and put on some great matches. But like you said, we don't have to have all superstar matches. Jobber matches are okay. And, when you had things like, not everything can be an NJPW type show where it is, the last hour and a half of it is nothing but main event quality matches, pay-per-view quality matches for 5 straight matches. AEW only has 5 matches. Some of these, like Janela and MJF, could have been saved up for a pay-per-view at some point down the line. Is Janela even done? Whatever happened to your boy, Sean Spears? Did he just go away? Is the Janela feud over? What happened there? Did that feud just went away? And now he's feuding with Kip Sabian?
Yes, because now Sean Spears, remember, is focusing on finding a tag team partner to challenge for the tag team titles.
And to be honest, that whole segment, that whole match was what we talk about as probably the best way to get everybody involved. You had MJF and Janela face each other. You had Cody come out and make his presence known, and you had Sabian and Priscilla come out and make their presence known, pushing along both of the feuds, getting 4 people involved and not making it into a spectacle. They could, even if they kind of did it in the first couple of weeks of Dynamite, where when Best Friends or SCU wasn't actually on the card, they were sitting in the audience. Why couldn't Darby Allin have been in the audience?
And it was also the first time since Cody faced Jericho for the championship that we saw MJF actually get somebody actually got a one-up on MJF.
Yeah.
Because Cody was like, well, I can't touch you, but they can.
Right.
And we got a super kick.
And then it was, and it was a nice way to was that the first time we've seen those two in the same proximity since that happened?
Yes.
Or no, because Cody did run out and make the save and then got beat up by Wardlow.
Oh, right. Totally forgot about that.
So, okay.
But
it wasn't.
They've done a great job of keeping them apart from each other, because it's only the second time in, 2 months?
That they've actually shared the same, ringside area.
Right.
They've done, you're right. They've done a good job of keeping them away and building it on their own, building it in their own segments. But this was a nice way to, push along 2 storylines without having us have to see, any kind of fighting between the 2 of them. Right. Or 4 of them. Or, well, does Penelope count? That's 5.
I'm not sure if she counts, but I know that I'd like to have her on all 4s. Does that?
Okay, there went our PG rating. The
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and here comes 5.
What do you try? Or never mind. I'm stopping my thought there.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Should I have said it opened up for 5? Would that have been a better way to do it?
No, that wouldn't have been.
Okay.
Wow. Anyway, and then of course our main event match, which was, sad to say, neither one of their best work.
No, I think they were hindered by the boat. I think they were hindered by the wind. I think they were hindered by the bandage thing. I definitely think their match about a month or 6 weeks ago, or whatever it was a lot better than this one.
Well, I was thinking about it when the wind was blowing. Jericho said they were sitting in a dock. Even if they were sitting at a dock, could you imagine how choppy that water was? And when these guys trying to jump off the top ropes, right, when everything's moving, that had to have been just murder.
Right, and then there was that really awkward spot where Moxley fell out. It was like he expected there to be more room than there was. Jericho tried to cover for it, say, and I'm sure he would. I'm sure he said the truth. That it's different because it's 1 or 2 feet higher than they're used to. But also there was like hardly any room for him to fall. Moxley's not a small guy, and for there to be like just that, there was basically like an MLW style distance between the ring and that one area where Moxley fell, and it looked like that was pretty dangerous at that point.
Or an old TNA style too. Yeah. TNA used to be like that too, but they did cover that in the opening match when they legitimately said there's not a whole lot of room here because we're jam packed to the rafters, and that Page spot where he dove onto Frankie in the crowd. That looked like that might have been something that maybe the waves moving the boat might have caused to look a little more awkward than it should have.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it really did look like Page was trying to adjust himself in midair.
Yeah, and Page is usually like super smooth, so.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I mean, I don't know. I thought this was, as for a TV show, it was good, but it's starting to turn into that TV show. They're still doing a good job of trying to make it a pay-per-view quality type TV show, but I think at this point it would be better to maybe ease up on the 25-minute matches. Like I said, I absolutely love the fact that they're not going to commercial break in the middle of matches anymore. They're doing the picture-in-picture and the split screen and all that. But at some point, let's get the TV timing down and just have an 8-minute match in between commercial breaks. So you can go to a commercial break with a vignette of one of these guys that aren't there, like a Darby Allin or Kip Sabian, or how many other young guys are they put? We could have had a Chris Statlander thing too in this one, I keep wanting to call her Io, but it's not. Shida, could have had one. There's so many up and coming stars that they have a chance to turn into a little backstage or segment, or even a vignette about Sean Spears trying to find his tag team partner would have worked too. There was no Dark Order presence anywhere on this show tonight. Let's do a 6 or 7 minute match, maybe an 8-minute match. You can come out of commercial with them already in the ring, and then go to commercial with a vignette of one of these guys. Get Dark Order over a little more. I've been hearing people talking about how Dark Order is failing. Maybe it's not so much that Dark Order is failing. Maybe Dark Order is just not getting the proper, I don't want to say push, but publicity maybe. Because when you're trying to get this whatever they are over, why were they nowhere on the show tonight?
I kind of feel the same way about the women's division, and I realize the women's division isn't exactly star-studded, but they also haven't done a very good job of, like tonight there was only one women's match on the entire show, right? And that was, it featured a debuting Priscilla Kelly against
Priscilla.
against apparently the hottest woman on the boat, Dr. Britt Baker. And I think it was like a 4-minute match, 4-ish minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And
so
it really feels like they have built the women's division around not even Riho anymore. It's more built around the Nightmare Collective. And so tonight, when the Nightmare Collective wasn't even on the show, it really felt like a big gaping hole that there was hardly any woman's presence on the show. Right.
Well, and for people that don't know, Priscilla Presley is married to Darby Allin. That's his wife.
No. Priscilla Presley was married to Elvis Presley. It's Priscilla Kelly that's married to Darby Allin.
Priscilla Kelly. Why was it? Priestley. I keep getting... Anyway, Priscilla Kelly is married to Darby Allin. She was on MLW. They were trying to push a women's division, and she was the only woman in the women's division for a little while. Looks like she's finally left MLW and joined AEW, which I think is a good thing. She's very talented. She didn't really get to show it tonight.
She was also at All Out in the Casino Battle Royale too.
Yeah, but she hasn't been around since then. So,
correct.
But she, she's very talented. She didn't get to really show it tonight, but I don't know how much of that is Britt Baker, and how much of that is the boat and the waves and everything. There were a couple of really sloppy spots, but it almost looked like it was Britt not rotating well enough or not falling the way she should have. There was that one spot where she it was almost like a backbreaker, but Britt kind of fell awkwardly sideways instead of on her back. I don't know if you caught that too, but there were just a few awkward spots during that match, and I can't tell if it was because of their chemistry, if Britt's just not polished enough. And well, I know Britt's not polished enough. She's still only 2 years in the business.
Yeah, well, we talked about before how Britt Baker is, she's still sloppy, and she doesn't have the experience for the spot that they keep giving her.
No. I mean, she was getting better there for a while. Maybe this heel turn this heel turn's destined to fail if this is the way they're going to do it. She can't go out and call Tony Schiavone a Starbucks barista and expect to get a heel character over, or even a believable character.
And what's the problem with being a barista? Come on.
He served a damn good coffee, I'll give him that much.
That is correct.
I don't know where that whole Starbucks thing came from. That was completely out of left field. I mean, anybody that knows anything about Schiavone knows that he is, for the last, since he's been dabbling in wrestling, but he's been pretty much a full-time announcer for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yep, for the Georgia Bulldogs and for the Atlanta Braves AAA team.
Yeah, so I mean, he's been an announcer. He's never stopped doing it. He's been doing that for almost 40 years now. So the whole Starbucks comment, I didn't understand it. It really did nothing to get her over as a heel except make her just look like a snobby bitch.
Snobby, clueless bitch. Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't think it was that well done. Thankfully, JR ended it by forcing a commercial break.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. Obviously they're doing this kind of weird heel turn with Britt after she was like the most popular woman in the division when it started.
Right.
They've got Allie, who was the other most popular woman, also in a heel role now as the Bunny.
As a valet, she's not even an act. Has she had a match in AEW yet?
Yes. She's had that. She had that tag team match on. I don't think she has on Dynamite. I mean, she had that tag team match on. I want to say it was Fight for the Fallen, and then she had.
That was.
Go ahead.
That was her and I know she was having her issues with Brandy.
All right, she had a match with Brandy.
That was that one.
That's right. You're right. Yeah.
And then who was the other one that they brought over that was? It's not B. Priestley. Or is it? The one that's dating Ospreay that we haven't seen since Double or Nothing.
Yes, that's B. Priestley.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen her since Double or Nothing. And she was probably the hottest one they had at the time as far as any kind of heat. Granted she was working with Britt Baker, but at least she was drawing heat to Britt Baker for a little while. And she's just been AWOL ever since Double or Nothing.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is due to her Stardom commitment, and I haven't seen anything. Maybe you have because you obviously have your ear to the news more than I do these days. But has there been any kind of news about how the purchase of Stardom by NJPW's parent company is affecting Stardom's relationship with AEW at all?
Not that I've heard.
Okay.
And from the looks of it, it looks like AEW and NJPW might continue working together too, unless Moxley had some sort of contracted deal with them where he was supposed to wrestle a certain amount of matches.
Well, remember, he debuted for NJPW before he debuted for AEW. So
right.
I'm not sure how any of that shakes out, but I mean, but if also you remember, B. Priestley was also the Stardom Women's Champion when she debuted for AEW.
Right. I just wonder if they might have had some sort of contract in place where Moxley had to wrestle so many matches for NJPW, and because of his MRSA infection and flight issues and things like that, he hasn't been able to.
Could be, or maybe he just really wanted to face Minoru Suzuki.
Well, it could have been one of his contracted matches that he's just now getting to.
That's true. Although I don't think typically you have a contract that stipulates who you're going to face.
Yeah, maybe not. I know I'd heard rumors that AJ, when he signed with them for that year, he had specific people that he had in his contract that he was going to face.
I don't know how you could actually enforce that, because what if somebody gets injured or they leave the company or they die?
I'm sure there's out clauses in that. But I had heard a rumor that I'd heard some sort of rumor that he had, in his contract, his NJPW contract, he had to face Shinsuke, he had to face Tanahashi, and there was one other guy that he had in his contract that he was going to face.
Oh, in NJPW?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about WWE. Yeah, probably Okada.
Well, it was only a year-long contract too. It's not like he had signed a 5-year contract.
Right.
It was a 1-year contract, and he had in his contract that if he was going to do it, he was going to face these certain people.
Yes, yeah, I thought you were talking about WWE, and I actually was about to praise John Cena. I was going to say, as much shit as I've been John Cena over the years, at least he put over AJ in back-to-back matches cleanly.
Yeah, he did this. Did he do the same thing with Kevin Owens?
The first one, I guess the first one wasn't clean, but he still, AJ beat him in 2 straight matches.
2 straight singles matches. Yeah. And the second, he had that crappy tag team match that he won too in between.
Oh, true. Yeah, 2 straight singles matches, and the second one was
a clean win.
On the second
Owens,
biggest stage in the company.
I know Owens beat Cena clean in his first match. Did he win 2 straight, or did he win?
No, just 1, and then Cena beat him in the next 2.
The next 2, okay. I don't know. You and I differ on Cena. I've got my feelings. I think he gets a lot of slack for being vanilla. I think he's incredible talent, and if they'd let him be a heel, he could have been great at it. But he got too much slack when he started as a babyface trying to appeal to children, because all he did was run the same character out there for 10 damn years.
And I also think that he had enough clout with the company that if he really wanted to be a heel, they would have turned him heel.
Yeah, I do too. I think a lot of that, by the time that it became evident that he should turn heel, I think he was more protecting his outside interests at that point.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love. There's been times I've been a big fan of Cena, but overall, I think that, like you said, when he was on the rise as the Doctor of Thugonomics, and then he went to this vanilla Hulk Hogan style character, I just couldn't get on board with him anymore.
Yeah, his hulking up and everything, but I'll give him credit. He was a hell of a wrestler. You can't have that many 5-star matches against that many different opponents and not be. But his character was a little rough. It was way too vanilla. His hulking up in every match was a little too much. I mean, they coined the term Super Cena for a reason.
Yes.
But as far as AEW goes,
I do not want to see Cena show up on AEW ever.
No, I don't either. And that goes for people like Tessa, Sammy. These people. Impact's got their own national format. Let them build up to be a competitor and keep Tessa and Sammy there. I don't need to see them running to AEW. I don't need to see people like Sasha in AEW, or Charlotte or Becky or the Revival. Any of these people, I'm not wishing that they all run to AEW, because as far as AEW goes, I think they've got enough talent. They just need to use it a little bit better, and they can bring in splash players here and there. But just because somebody is not getting the focal point or is a great wrestler doesn't mean I want to see them all run to AEW either. I even said that up
I
Marty.
mostly agree with what you just said, but I would say that Tessa joining AEW would be a big boost for the promotion, because they really need somebody to be the anchor of that women's division. and nobody's really been able to do that yet. I mean,
well, I mean, in that case, Sasha would be a great fit there too.
Sure.
I think she could come in and be that anchor, but they've got so many women there that can be the anchor already. They're just choosing not to use them.
Right, but if you bring in a big star like Sasha or Becky, Alexa Bliss, Tessa Blanchard, you're Taya Valkyrie, then you've got somebody somebody experienced that the wrestling public knows that you can start getting a rub from. They can start giving a rub to these young up and coming wrestlers.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But I mean, let's put it this way: Marty Scurll is my still probably one of my favorite wrestlers on the planet. He didn't make his way to AEW, and I'm not sad about that.
No, but if he did, he probably wouldn't be wrestling in the women's division anyway.
No, but he wouldn't. I don't think he would have made the splash that we would have wanted him to in AEW. I think I wish that he was with a company that treated him a little bit better, but at the same point, I'm not upset that he didn't leave our Ring of Honor.
No.
If that makes sense.
The only time he could have come in and made a big splash would have been if he was the opponent for Cody instead of Dustin. I can't see any other place he would have come in and made a big splash. I take that back. If he had been the guy to replace Moxley instead of Pac replacing Moxley against Omega, would have been the only other time.
Or if he had been the Jack Hagar Inner Circle piece, you wouldn't have gotten the big hurt guy, but you would have gotten somebody sleazy that would have came in and done. I mean, if he'd done what he did to Adam Cole when Adam Cole got booted from Bullet Club, I think he would have been able to make as big a splash then too.
Okay, I can kind of see that. I don't know that I really want to see him playing second fiddle to Jericho, but if it was kind of like a thing where he was like always undermining Jericho, or that might have been interesting.
Or had been, kind of been on behind the scenes, like the Villain Enterprises type thing, where he's the real guy in control and Jericho's the figurehead.
Yeah.
Type of thing, that would have worked. I think there's a lot of ways they could have made it work, and I think that could have been a big splash too, and we would have actually gotten that enforcer in the ring at some point too. Unlike Jack Hagar.
Yeah. Whatever. He's in Ring of Honor for now. He's booking the promotion, and apparently he's also working with the NWA. So let Marty be Marty.
Well, and it's one of the few things that if Marty can come in and they can start putting on quality matches, I still got 6 months left to decide if I'm going to really discontinue this Ring of Honor app anyway. Maybe he'll be the guy that can save the company and turn it around. I mean, there was something, and I hate to do this again because now we're off the AEW topic again, but there was something that came out after Marty re-signed last week where Bully had mentioned that he was always pushing for Marty to become the world champion. If that's the case, then why didn't it happen? Wasn't he the head booker?
Yeah, well, I thought he was, but apparently, all the news articles said that Skirtle was replacing Hunter Johnson as the head booker, and Hunter Johnson, of course, was delirious. So maybe Bully had some booking power, but not as much. But he wasn't the head one like we all thought he was.
Okay, well that would make sense too. I mean, he did say that he wouldn't have made Marty the head booker, which I kind of agree with when you see all the other top stars that have, I don't want to say failed, but they've drawn way too much heat for being the head booker when they were at the top of the company. Marty's their top star. Regardless of, Taven and Roosh and all these other people and what they've done this last year, Marty is their top star. And for him to be the head booker at the same time, that is just too much. How's he going to concentrate on his matches when he's also got to deal with the politics between other wrestlers?
I totally see your point, and I'm a little bit leery of it myself, but I don't think you can blame Ring of Honor for doing it if that was the only way they can get him to re-sign.
And at this point, I don't think you can blame Ring of Honor for doing it because what they were doing wasn't working.
Right, exactly.
Give it to a guy who's proven he's creative.
Anything else on Dynamite?
No, actually, I was gonna. I thought the matches were great. And kind of a little bit petty on my part with the picking apart certain things. I think that they're still doing a great job. I think they're still putting out great matches. I wish they'd do a few things here and there a little bit differently. But all in all, this is still probably the best weekly show that I see.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to try to get some. I'm going to try to watch a little bit of NXT this week too, because I did see Keith Lee was facing Roderick Strong for the TV title. But but NXT is certainly off my radar. Raw's been off my radar for a while. SmackDown's been off my radar for a while. So, yeah, I mean, it's really for me between AEW and Impact and Dynamite wins most weeks.
Well, and I mean, I've kept tabs on certain things like MLW. I've said that I was going to get completely off. I haven't, because I still like, there's still some good characters there, and I've kind of kept my eye on NWA popping in here and there. I've, Raw and SmackDown every now and then, depending on which kid is up here with me. I'll pop in and watch that here and there, and I get annoyed when I watch those shows because a lot of the stuff that's going on that just doesn't make sense. I don't get annoyed yet with AEW.
Right.
Any of the other shows, there are things I wish they'd do a little bit differently, but that's my just fantasy booking. All the other weekly shows that I see, I don't think they're on the same level as AEW is at this point.
That is correct. Why don't you tell everybody where else they can listen to us at, Jeff?
Well, guys, hopefully you're listening to us on YouTube. I've seen, about 6 or 7 people jumping on and off throughout the night. So if hopefully you're listening to us on YouTube, and if you are, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. We're going to do 2 live shows a week between this and Spreaker, or between YouTube and Spreaker, and we're also doing an exclusive only YouTube show. Well, an exclusive free YouTube show. It'll always be in our archives on Patreon, which brings me to Patreon. Patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. Best place to go to find us and find out everything you want about us, and you listen to all of our shows. We have exclusive shows on there. It's kind of a donation service. You throw a little bit our way, anywhere between $5 and $10 to us, so that we can continue to bring you this content. And in favor, we archive every show that we've ever done. We also have exclusive only Patreon shows, and we'll put up our YouTube exclusive shows in the pay section as well, so that you can get you definitely get your money's worth, and it helps us out in the end. That's patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. And of course, from Patreon, you can not only get to our YouTube channel where you can watch these live shows or listen to these live shows, you can also get to my Twitter, which is at RegiCoop. Shane is at ZanmanLOP. Use hashtag KOH and hashtag DAD. That will get you to everything that we do.
And make sure you stay tuned to the other LOP Radio shows. Tomorrow is M's LOP Radio Adventure. On Friday, we have a brand new show debuting, as the Bright Side of the Pond is no longer on the air, but we are going to be having NWA Power, the Legacy Series, with your boys and ours, the Mystic and the Miz Fan. And on Monday, we'll be back with you with Kingdom of Honor, talking about the Royal Rumble. Yes, some actual WWE content from your WWE haters right here on LOP Radio. Until next time, that's all we've got. We'll try to do better. This is Shane saying goodbye. This is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights. And Jeff saying
goodbye.
G1 Climax 27. Goodbye and good night.